everybody, and thanks a million again for coming down. It's just fantastic to see such a great turnout, and we all really appreciate it. Just before I introduce the speaker, I'd like to say thanks again to T-Bay Surf Club for giving us this space. They've been absolutely brilliant serving the wine, and they're just really cool to work with. I'd also like to say thank you to my fellow artists. It's not often you get a group of artists working together so well, and we've had a lot of good fun working on this show. It's been absolutely brilliant. I'm probably going to forget, I'm forgetting to say a load of things, I know, but I'll introduce our speaker now, a very dear and brilliant friend of mine, who's a lecturer in the Creative Performing Arts in WIT, Una Healy.
Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, boys and girls, artists, surfers, kayakers, swimmers, bodyboarders, anybody who generally loves the sea, you are most welcome tonight to T-Bay for the launch of this wonderful exhibition. Can I, before we start, echo Claire's thanks to T-Bay, who have provided such a wonderful and beautiful venue with such a wonderful and beautiful view as the shell, the wall, the walls that hold the wonderful pictures that we have the pleasure of looking at this evening. Some of you may know and some of you may not know, but Dave Smith, who is the architect of this building, designed it with the idea of a shell in mind. And so we are in the centre of a building that is also very much inspired by the sea. And we are very lucky to have it in Tremor, and we're very lucky to have a venue that understands that you don't have to hang art on the walls of an art centre for it to be publicly available and to have an experience. And for the artists to have chosen this place is very fitting. And I was lucky enough last night to have a guided tour by the artists of all the pictures on the walls tonight. And what I will try to do in the next 5 minutes or so, and I won't take any longer than that, is to give you, is to echo a bit of what I was privileged enough to hear last night from the artists themselves. You'll have to excuse me if I refer to my notes, but like Claire, there'd be bound to be something I'll forget if I don't refer to them, so forgive me for that. Happy Culture Night, by the way, to everybody. And we should also say congratulations and well done to everybody concerned with the Tremor Surf and Sea Festival. I know Jane Russell O'Connor is here tonight. Again, we are extremely and extraordinarily lucky to live in Tremor, not only because we live in such a beautiful place, but also because we live amongst people who want to celebrate that beautiful place that we live in and provide us with different experiences and expressions of that place. And if you haven't got one of these brochures, please go and find one. They're all over the town, and have a look at what you might be doing tomorrow and what you might be doing on Sunday. I know my own mother's trying to give away our dog in a dog show. So if you're interested in having a dog, contact my mother after the show. But there's loads of fun things and there's loads of great things happening over the weekend. So be sure to have a look at the brochure and see what thing you might like to do amongst all the things that are available to do. So really, when I've all the housekeeping stuff out of the way, I think what I want to do is to say congratulations to Claire and Julie and Laura, Annie and Eric, who have put this wonderful show together. And as Claire suggested, a collaborative show is not always the easiest thing to organise, because as we all know, artists are notoriously difficult people to work with. And women artists can even be worse to work with, and yet they have proved this to be a lie, because in the conversation that I had with them last night, a more giving and generous, creative and inspired group of ladies you wouldn't meet anywhere else. We are sadly missing Eric, who is back in San Francisco, but he sends his love to us all, I'm assured, and he's much missed in his absence. As you know, or if you have read the invitation, we have artists from 2 continents. 4 of our artists, the 4 that are here tonight, Annie and Claire and Julie, Laura, whose name and Julie, where's Julie? And Julie, are all from the southeast and all trained in WIT and have been 20 and a bit years growing as artists. They graduated from from WIT not so long ago. I think we have one, if not 2, of lecturers here, very young looking gentlemen you'll see, who helped them on their path to success. So I suppose we should welcome those people too. The work that you see on the wall is work that has been made for this exhibition and inspired by the sea, and has been created over the last 6 months. And from what I gathered from what I was told last night, some of it was created very quickly, such as Claire's work here, and you can see how the energy of the creative act has captured the energy that you have to have if you're out there in your wetsuit in the middle of a wave, trying to catch it or trying to dodge it, trying to duck over it or jump on top of it. And I think Claire's, the colours here and the motion, the fluidity of those and the skill that's involved in riding those waves and capturing those moments is very clear from in a way it seems very simple, and then when you look closely at the work you see the layers and layers of brush strokes that have happened. And when I was talking to Julie, now there's one of Julie's pieces is down here, is number 14 in my eyes. 14, to serve me correctly. And Julie was saying that Julie paints on board, and to me that made me think of surfers, boardies. This is going to appeal to people who know about surfing, which I don't, as you will soon see if I say anything about surfing. But Julie was telling me that this piece, on and off, she came and went and came back to it over a period of 6 months, and layered paint on and took paint off and spent a lot of time looking and getting the depth of colour, working that board and caring for it. It struck me as a surfer might care for the board and wax the board and clean the board. So there was an attention to detail and a loving return to a favourite object, which seemed to me that was very apt for people who love the water. Laura's work, these beautiful 4 pictures here, again a layering process, and I know nothing of the technicalities, only of what I heard last night. Built on an oil-primed paper, then using a wash of oil and oil pastels to create these pictures that are alive with the movement of the water. And as Laura was saying to me last night, a very different kind of process to her normal process, very much inspired for this show. There's an example of some previous work of Laura's up here at the top, and it's kind of a carving on wax. And you can see that working with formerly this hard object, the wax, and then this movement through to a very fluid, kind of a medium that's almost alive and doing its own thing, was a very different kind of way of working for Laura. Annie has a different take on the sea altogether. You can see her work going up the stairs here, very much inspired by comic strip and graphic art and design. The bears, well, I know about the bears, but I'm going to leave the bears to you. You have to either talk to Annie or Eric, who also I think might know about the bears, and let it speak to you. See, what do you think of it? Maybe there's a bear in your own self or a bear in your own life that you might relate it to. Annie is very much inspired by, you can see the two lovelies. I actually don't mean the two lovelies standing beside the picture, I mean the two lovelies that are in the picture. But very much inspired by that sense of glamour and beauty and elegance. And I think there's an elegance that's throughout this exhibition, an elegance of craftsmanship. We are in 2011, the year of craft, and I think there's we don't really know what differentiates art and craft. And I think what we're seeing here is a beautiful marriage of the idea of craftsmanship and the idea of artistry. This insistence on returning to an object or an image, and that's my baby. He's allowed to do that. This idea of returning to the object or the image and trying to bring it to life and see its perfections and its imperfections, and express something such as the sea, something that we would all have a connection with, and make us look at it in a new way, or make us look at it again in a different way. And you can see all kinds of moods echoing throughout this exhibition. I haven't said anything about Eric's work. Eric's work, very much inspired by how man has imposed himself on the landscape. And we have industrial seascapes. So we have cranes, we have containers. We can hardly see the sea, if we can see the sea at all in those pictures. So a very different kind of take on San Francisco. Annie's pictures, Route 49, inside in the seating area up here. Annie's explained to me that 49 is a big number in San Francisco. Anybody who's been to San Francisco will know, of course, the baseball team is the 49ers. 1849 was the year of the gold rush. And the city itself is 7 by 7 miles, so it's 49. And this sign, Annie's pieces are based on an original sign, the scenic drive around San Francisco. But what Annie has done is taken the sea in all its moods. So we don't have one sign that directs us. We have lots of different expressions of the sea. Beautiful calm days, turbulent days, green days, grey days, sunshiny days. We have all of those. So it's well worth going in there and spending some time and looking at the different moods that you can see in all those different pieces. Just want to make sure. Oh yes, I have one note. The robots. The robots aren't really. They're visiting Ireland. They're not really inspired by the sea, I think. And I think Annie will agree, and Eric will forgive me if I say that they're visitors here. But the point about the robots is that they don't want to go home. They want to stay in Ireland and they want to be bought. As do all the other pictures that we have on the walls. We are very lucky to have such an evening to come out and meet our friends and have a chat and look at the walls. And we sometimes forget that when we go home, what will happen to those paintings? Well, they'll go home too. But we should think about the fact that they might be able to come home with us. Or even at the end of the exhibition, we might be able to come and collect them and bring them home. So what I think you should do is, when you go home tonight, go and have a look at all your walls and see if there's a sad, kind of an empty bit in your house that could do with one of these beautiful pictures hanging on it. And if you have anybody who is 21, or who is 18, or who has just done something wonderful in their Leaving Cert, or has just done something dreadful in their Leaving Cert, they need to cheer it up. Somebody who's moving away from Tramore, or maybe perhaps leaving Ireland. We're living in difficult times. Why not think about giving them a little bit of Tramore to take away with them? Because that's what we have on the walls. We have little bits of Tramore. And I know that these pieces were created in great joy and great friendship. And so what more wonderful and beautiful thing can you give to somebody that you love than something so beautiful that was created in such a joyous moment of friendship, I think. I'm right in saying that, Claire? Yeah. So folks, with that in mind, the idea that you are charged with going home and looking at your walls, and make sure you have one of these. The prices are very affordable. Have a think about it, and remember that this is somebody's livelihood. It's important that we do what we can to cherish the place that we live and the people who make that place or help make that place so special to us. So without further ado, I want to end on one note, and it's a special word of thanks to Claire Scott. It was her brainchild, this exhibition, and without her thinking of this, we wouldn't have all these beautiful things to look at. So I would ask you, ladies and gentlemen, to please give a hearty round of applause to all the artists that we have this evening, to Eric, who's away in San Francisco, and particularly to Claire, whose brainchild this was. So thank you very much, folks. I've been charged with pointing out a very important, the most important man in the building is this man, Dermot. And Dermot is the man that you need to go and talk to about which picture that you'd like to take home.
And how many?
And how many? He's an optimist. And how many? So thank you very much, folks. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Jellyfish. It's what you have here, folks, are original pieces of artwork. They are €10 each. They're not on your price list. Each of these is a one-off, never to be seen again. Can be yours to take home for €10. I would advise you you should buy 3 and frame them together, or 4. For that money, you could buy a whole load of them. So, again, see Dermot, if you want one of these, only €10 and worth it for double the money. So, thanks very much.
You're amazing.
Was that all captured for Eric?
It was captured for whoever. I'll give it to you too. I'm telling you.
I hope that was okay.